this exercise is to impose a tattoo onto the arm of this gentleman here. So this image we're going to place the tattoo onto his arm using a variety of tattoos that I sourced in from online. I mean, the easiest one is definitely this one, but I'm going to pick this arm here. So how do we prepare to overlay this graphic over this arm here? So there's a couple of steps that needs to be taken. First of all, we need to prepare the tattoo on the arm. So we need to extract the black ink out of this canvas here, out of this flat surface. So we're going to go into channels, and this is an RGB. That's not a problem. All we want to do is to press your command key and hover your mouse over this layer and click. What it does is that it selects the white space and not the black. So we need to invert the selection by doing Command Shift I. Now that's inverted, so it's now selected the black pixels. So we're going to Command J to extract it out of the canvas. Now, in order for us to make sure that every pixel is as black as possible, not gray and certainly not white, we're going to lock the pixels in of this layer. So we're going to lock that pixel in and make sure that your color tile is set to black, and you just fill it by Command Delete. So I don't know if you can see that small little shift, but I'll undo it. Option Delete, and that will select and fill in any gray or white pixels in your selection. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to click on this and drag it to that layer, and then we drop it in. So now we've got this over here. What we need to do then is to scale it down. Command T to scale it down, and then we're going to transform it, and then we're just going to make sure it sits comfortably on his arm the way that we want to. Now we can envisage this section here to wrap around this corner here, but we're going to make our job a little bit more easier by just doing a straight copy and paste. Okay, so we're just going to rotate this around. And then before we click enter to set the transformation, there's one more click that we need to do, is that we need to go under edit, transform, and warp. What it does is that it allows you to warp this graphic even closer to the edges if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do now is to properly fit it into the contours of his arm as best as we can. Now you can settle for this, but because of the arm, which it has highlights and shadows, we want to create the illusion that the tattoo is flowing across his arm in a much more realistic manner along the contours of his muscle. So what we're going to do is unlock the pixels, and we are going to create a displacement map from this graphic. So make another copy. Command U for saturation and reduce it to black and white. Now remember, Photoshop works on the principles of black and white. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create highlights and shadows as best as we can on that arm. This should be it, and then we're going to blur it. So go under filter, go under blur, and go Gaussian blur. And that's blurred enough. Now what we want to do is to create some form of seamless blur so that there's no pixels that's evident. So we're going to do save as. So Command Shift S will give you a save as, and we're going to do, I've named it offset, but you can create, say, displacement map if you wanted to, .psd. Save that as a copy. Now as you can see, this is now a copy, which is the main map.psd. That's okay. As long as we've got a copy of this background here floating around, that's cool. So now we've got this 2 layers back up again. Select all on layer 1, and then we're going to run it through filter, distort, displace. And then we're going to say we want to stretch it. So let's just say stretch it to 14 pixels by 14 pixels, stretch to fit, wrap it around and sort of repeat edges and see what it does. Okay, so we're going to click OK, and it says please locate the displacement map, and that's that one. And so it's wrapped it up just a little bit tighter around following the contours. Now as you can see, there's a bit of a cleanup that needs to be done over here and over here. That's all great. Command T again, just to nudge it just a little bit. Use the warp tool and I'll just nudge this artwork down just a tad bit. Yeah. And then up here, as you can see there, what we're going to do is that we are going to just create a layer mask and use my pen tool because it's cleaner that way, and just tidy this up and click there, there, and there. And under your paths palette, that's your work path. Double click it just in case, save it, and then what you do is to press Command key and hover over this path here. Click, it will make a selection. So we're going to go back to our layers, and remember this is our mask here, and because black is to hide and white is to show, we're going to hide it, so we're going to fill it with black. Now 2 more steps away from being finished. It is now contoured nicely, so we need to focus on highlights and shadows. So currently this is sitting at normal. We're going to switch this to overlay, so it looks like that. And then we're going to create another copy of this layer and make it multiply. Now because the way that the skin reflects and shimmers against light, we want to create the illusion that this tattoo is etched into the skin, so therefore it's subject to the physics of light. So what we need to do now is to mask out the multiply layer. So this is clicking on and off this multiply layer. What we want to do is to mask the area that has reflection or the light bouncing off the skin. So we're going to use a brush tool, and I've set this brush to a size of 146 and make sure it's soft, and I've also put out the opacity as 50%. And what I'm going to do is making sure that you select your mask, and then all you have to do is just to click and brush it in. Brush where you think the shadows are, and where the reflections are, because it's never going to be pure black on the skin. So even this, I will reduce my multiply layer down a little bit more so that it looks a little bit more convincing. And so there you go, and then you can click Save As, and that's your JPEG. Click Save, JPEG. I always save it to high at 8 if I want to email the artwork out. Now you can do a bit more to that if you wanted to, which is you can create another copy. I'm just going to merge my layers by copying that. So this is the merge layer here. These are all the layers that are floating on top to the original artwork. And here I can run filter noise and add noise. So what it does is that it introduce grain into the picture, and what good does it do is that it hides most imperfections. So 12.5 is very grainy, so I'm just going to try 6. It's still very grainy at 6. I'm going to try it at 4. So 4, let's see, 3. So before and after, as you can see, I'm going to zoom in just tightly around that area. So this is before. So you can see there may be some imperfections, but once you introduce grain, all of a sudden it hides those imperfections. So what we're going to do, I'm going to save this, and this will be my new JPEG. Save, replace that file, and the job's done. Okay, so again, this is a very easy way of understanding how to apply or superimpose a graphic onto another artwork. Just have to make it look convincing. Okay, all right, see you guys later.